Hello, I'm Peter Latemore, here interviewing Robert Gladwell, architecture student and TAFE lecturer, about his journey becoming a QARC subscriber. Hello, Robert.
Hi.
Good. Drink coffee. You'll need it.
Yes.
So, Robert, tell me about yourself and your Revit use.
So I've been using Revit for just over 8 years now, and that's pretty much about it. For 4 years I've been using it professionally, but 4 years prior it was just a bit of a fun thing. But now I use it daily, really, in my professional work, architecture and building design for uni and work stuff.
Well, that's quite amazing because you're one of the few people who we've noticed who came through education institutions and almost immediately began using it, and you also took your knowledge straight into architecture school.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it helped a lot going through TAFE first, because the skills in Revit is something that's been able to employ really easily over at QUT. It's helped a lot.
Now, tell me, Robert, when did you first subscribe to using QARC4Revit?
I subscribed quite a few months ago, but it was a bit of a slow start for me because I was a little bit busy. But I'm using it daily now and have been so for about a month, I think, 3 or 4 weeks, about that.
Okay. How did you discover the thing in the first place? Like, I know, but I'd like to hear you say it.
I was at a building design and the Building Design Center, one of your branch events, and you made me aware of the system that you were starting up. And about, I think, 2 weeks later, I met your business partner,
Mark Wilson.
Mark, and at the Brisbane event, and he was telling me about the system. I thought it sounded good, so I wanted to give it a try, being one of the first students to try it. And
you were actually.
Yeah, pretty cool.
So you're a mover and shaker. You're ahead of the curve.
Well, it just seems like a good idea when you guys were explaining it to me. I mean, you were explaining how BIM Object and NBS, and I've noticed this quite a lot. They're all in file standards that are foreign, European and American and all that, and it's very hard to find Australian family files, for Revit.
Tell me, Robert, you're using the free version, and that is mainly because of what? Is it because we told you it was free?
I'm using the free version at the moment because I like to try trials, and also because I'm a student, I like to try trials before I commit to anything. That's the reason why I've gone with that so far.
There are other free resources out there, but from a did you see the use of QARC4Revit better than those other free uses, like Revit City and there's others like it?
Absolutely. Well, my main pet, I guess, disappointment with resources like Revit City is they're great, but a lot of the resources that you get from them are quite inaccurate, and they end up causing more problems than is really needed later on, particularly if you're new to Revit. But I kind of get the same problem with NBS and BIM Object, but not as much. But the other three resources like Revit City and I believe it's called Free CAD Blocks or something along that lines, I don't think I've yet downloaded a file where there hasn't been some form of compromise problem. If that answers the question.
Yeah, actually that does. Because I'm a long-term user, and I've got to say that we have had to repair literally everything we get from the internet, except some manufacturer content, and that's actually reasonable. But we have tried in QARC4Revit to really make them useful, accurate, parametric, and so on. And I'm guessing that's what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, come to mind, the only resource, like you were saying, the only resource that I found from those free websites so far has been a boom gate for a garage. That's the only 100% accurate one that I've actually found so far. Everything else hasn't been what I was expecting, I guess. So I've had to go through and make changes myself and get them up to a BIM level that I'm satisfied with.
Well, see, you're one of the few, recent students, Robert, who actually knows what you just said, that full BIM standards is what you are looking for. So
Yeah,
do you think QARC4Revit has solved that?
I don't think Revit solved it, but I think QARC is helping solve it, certainly. The integration between Revit and QARC has been much more seamless than I can't think of any other resources that can compare for it. To be honest, when I first started, I was a little bit skeptical of how fast you would be able to bring accurate Australian standards components into Revit. But now I'm starting to see the benefits. It's just a drag and drop simulation, and it's perfect, pretty much.
Yeah, the speed is something that is part of it, but also just having Australian content that works is helpful, obviously, for you.
Exactly.
How did it influence how do you think it influences students as they're coming through the free version of QARC4Revit, I mean?
Well, I haven't yet experienced the paid versions of QARC, the more premium versions, but at least in the free versions, if you're comparing that to something along the lines of BIM Object or even Revit City, if one of my students, and even me, comes to the teacher and says, I've got this in here, and I'm asking, okay, what is it? Unless it's an Australian standard, like what QARC is producing, there's all the problems with tags and everything, and it may be the wrong information. It may be a door that can't even be manufactured in Australia. So, that's the real benefit that I'm seeing from it in comparison to the other.
So, do you think it can help students, particularly if we add more manufacturer content?
Absolutely, yeah. The more you could add, the better, because it would essentially be a digital version of a resource like the Building Design Center, where we where we don't have to grab a door that's American and then spend 10, 15, 20 minutes, even longer, changing it to an Australian standard.
Do you think it's going to help students as they become employed later by having experienced QARC4Revit?
I think so, yeah. A lot of it comes down to that speed of being able to get files that are relevant to our country rather than another country. And so it allows more time to concentrate on these sort of real world things in Australia. Plus also having a list of the different companies that are there using QARC helps the students a lot as well with knowing what products they need.
It's funny, Robert, you've answered a whole heap of my questions without even trying. It's quite amazing. It's like you've read my mind. So I'm now having to think, now what am I going to ask, Robert? I do have one question. How did you find the process of loading QARC4Revit onto your computer?
There was one hiccup at the start. Other than that, it was incredibly easy. It was literally like loading a plugin, and that was it. You just install, log in, bang, done. it was quite easy.
Yeah, it's meant to be quick, and it's good to hear that you say that. In your use of it, do you think it saves? How much time do you think it saves you? Do you have a sort of an idea how much per day, or and mainly in your case, you've been using the content browser for content.
If for components in Revit that I've already got and set up myself, I would say it's around about the same time. You've still got to just click on it and load it in, which is what I do with my components anyway. But for new components, new things that I might want to be adding, it saves so much time, because going back to what I was saying before, I mean, every time I want a new component, if I have to, load it in a different window, change the stuff, save it, all this stuff that I need to do usually. If I can just have that just ready to go there, then it saves tons of time, really, for new components.
Well, that is good to hear, because we know that the premium version of the template saves endless time, but it's actually interesting to hear you say how much content delivery is saving you time.
Yeah.
What do you think students might say to their future employers if they've been using QARC4Revit?
They would say, particularly in Australia, they would say something along the lines of, "I'm using QARC," and if people are aware enough of what that is, then they'll know. How's the best way to put it? They'll know that it's more seamless. It's a lot less hard. I'm trying to think of the word that I'm going for. Setting up objects to a high BIM standard, it can be time consuming, especially at the start, but this helps so much. And if you're a student that's got that resource and aware of what it can do, then that's going to benefit a company so much, because then the company knows that you won't have to sit there setting up new files all the time. You'll just be able to bring them in, and the job's pretty much done.
Well, that's what we were hoping. And this is some of the reason that we are encouraging students to access it, because we believe we should be helping educate anyway, but also to then increase the quality of documentation out there in the industry is another reason that we've started this. Have you by any chance looked at the basic template that comes with the free QARC4Revit?
I haven't yet, no, but I will.
Yeah, have a look. It's better than the standard Revit one, in that it has a bit more information, a bit more annotations and capability. Now, you've already answered so many of my questions, Robert. You're amazing. Yeah, well, knowing you, you're quite up there with all your knowledge. One thing that we like to ask everybody is, what would you like to see in QARC4Revit? Is there something you particularly think we should investigate and put on our roadmap? Like, one thing that we hear constantly is more manufacturers, if you can get them on, please. Would that be true?
Oh, absolutely, but that's a given, isn't it? I'm trying to think of something a bit more specific.
Like, one thing that we would like to put on the roadmap one day is an estimation system. It costs a lot to make it happen, but one reason for it is that architects, building designers, and we now know students probably would like to know the cost of their projects. Is that something you'd like to see?
Yes.
That was simple.
Definitely. Yeah, that's something that, particularly here at TAFE, and also for more likely fourth year students at university, that's something that would be really, really good. Cost estimation as a part of all this. That's something that a lot of people tend to revert back to the manual way anyway. Yeah, that would be
Okay.
really good.
Now we have occasionally been asked by people who are aware of QARC4Revit that are on Revit LT. They ask us, when will there be a QARC4Revit for LT?
Yeah.
And for us, it's quite difficult because LT can't accept a plugin. But if we ever solved it, can you see a benefit to students, to the industry, by having access to LT, or is that something we just should give up on?
I think the benefit would definitely be there. Talking from a personal level, I'm new to the industry and I'm still a student. I can't afford the full Revit suite for my professional work, like the proper version. When particularly these days, when people are new to the industry and they're going to do freelance work, having QARC4Revit LT be great. because
Ah,
do you see what I mean?
yeah, I see it now
Like,
because we hadn't thought of it that way. That people starting out, and we've always assumed that they would be going straight to an employed situation, but they could be doing okay freelance. Yes, and LT is so much more affordable.
yes,
So would you
and it
say just
only
would it be a template or content or both that you think LT would benefit
uh,
from?
oh, the content. The template wouldn't be too much of an issue, but definitely the content. Because Revit LT still allows you to create your own families, uh, or this business is, but the only thing it doesn't allow you, basically, that's important for students who are starting out, is the model in place. It doesn't allow you to do that, and also view templates. So the content would be very beneficial. The templates would also be beneficial, but particularly the content.
Ah, this is interesting, Robert. It's every time we talk about this with someone, we get a different angle on it, and yours is an even better angle.
Yeah.
Um, is there something that you're looking for? Like you're obviously using the content a lot. Is there anything in the content that you would like to see done in the generic section of it? Is there more that you want to see? Like what's missing in your mind?
The only thing that's missing in my mind is I think we've already covered what's missing in my mind. I'm trying to think, well, again, more specifically and more advanced stuff on what I could suggest. The same as what everyone else suggests. More manufacturers would be great, and obviously integration, Revit Light. But
Okay. Is there enough plumbing fixtures? Are there enough wall and roof content? Is there anything particularly that you'd like you would like QARC4Revit to consider?
a well, as wide of a
In
content
generic,
as possible,
in as wide, okay, as wide as possible.
as much as possible when it comes to even things like structural elements. If there could be something along the lines of how you can put structural joists and uh, these kind of things, if the materials are already on there, you can have the option to say like, oh, okay, I want this kind of timber as this structural element. It would be great to have that kind of integration.
Okay, we already have some structural elements. They're not real structure in terms of Revit. They're more architectural versions of structure like trusses and joists and bearers.
Yeah,
But from your experience, would you like us to go down the path of having real structural content?
absolutely. Because then you wouldn't just be branching into the architecture, you'd be branching into the communication and integration with engineers and structural engineers and all this kind of stuff.
So would you
Because
see a benefit in that from another reason? We've noticed that there's, there's very few engineers actually in the world using Revit properly.
yeah,
Would you see us going down the path of structure being useful for engineers?
absolutely. Uh, it just it would encourage the um, what's the word, interoperability
Yes.
between the different fields in the industry. Because I feel, based on my experience, those that haven't switched over, and there's not many who have, um, there's a bit of the hesitation behind the whole, we'll have to do everything again. All our blocks are already here. Why would we have to create it again?
Okay. So
And
do you think
and
QARC4Revit is a good way for someone to transition from AutoCAD
yeah,
into Revit?
absolutely. I think it's the perfect way to do it.
Why do you think that, Robert, in particular? Like you were very quick to answer that.
Because it's just a lot faster. It's a lot simpler for those people who, for example, are new to Revit and they don't understand how to create a family or a component or structural component that well yet. They can get a good starting point with using this system,
Do you
and
like
then
that? Sorry.
they can continue transitioning and improve their skills through this.
Ah. Do you like the ability to drag and drop system families?
Yeah, it's great.
It's kind of unique, isn't it?
It's brilliant. It reminds me of Twinmotion and Lumion, and the way with LiveLink, how you can drag and drop. You know, you bring something into SketchUp and then it will update it automatically on LiveLink on Lumion. It reminds me of that.
Ah, we haven't heard that before. That's quite fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, we spent quite a bit of time and effort making that happen, and we made the Revit API respond, which was a challenge in itself. So we're quite pleased that it works. Did you know that there's things like text, hatches, dimensions in the browser as well?
No, I didn't. I've been concentrating more on doors and windows and this kind of stuff at the moment.
Well, we've managed to, dimensions are a system family because they can only be created within a project, just like usually walls, floors and roofs. So we've got a whole bunch of other things like that and stairs, all of which are project based. And so our QARC4Revit has the ability to go way beyond just what we think of as system families. You'll have to have a look.
Yeah, I definitely will. Yeah,
I'll do that because that can introduce, as you say, students can then take that knowledge to their own jobs or to their own future employer, saying, "Look, we've got all this."
Well, that's exactly it. That's the thing that I'm finding of most benefit in my teaching practice is it's just so much easier to show the difference between something that's right and not right through a drag and drop system.
So, Robert, you just mentioned teaching. Are you showing your students QARC4Revit?
Some of the students have already gone on board with it, and some of them are still using Revit City, and I'm pointing them towards more accurate stuff.
Oh, that's good to know. At least they'll have something that's correct.
Well, it's that thing where if you tag a door, if it's already set correctly, like what this system gives you, then you don't have to go through and change it later. But if you pull something from Revit City, there's a good chance you're going to have to change it later.
Yes,
and
because
a lot of students.
Because Robert, the lecturer, is going to say, Mr. or Mrs. Student, you didn't get that right. Go fix it.
Exactly. Yeah. And it just ends up taking more time.
And they don't have that much time because they've got to get the next assignment done.
Yep. They got less time than people in the industry.
Yeah. Which the industry is no different either. You know, if you make a mistake, you've got to fix it. And then before you know it, the next job's out is not being done. And
yeah, exactly.
So, thank you, Robert. You can close off now and go off and have a fun day.
Will do.
And thank you so much for this. You've been a star interviewee.
Thanks.
All right. See you, Robert.
Right. See you later.
Bye.